I can't do anything with blinking lights. I'm ADD. I'll be like, oh, look at the blinking lights. How is everybody? Hope everybody's great. Welcome to another rendition of Kingdom's Evolution with your host, Joseph Finn. I hope everybody's doing good. A lot of people in St. Louis City. The title of the show is St. Louis Mayor, Now is Your Time. This is an opportunity that you are there for. This is, I want to talk and come up with a plan, an idea. I want to give the mayor some ideas. I wanted to title the show "If I Were Mayor." If I were mayor for a day, how would I handle the tragedy that has befallen so many of our fellow St. Louisans? But I felt like that was a little too egocentric. So what I'd like to do on this show is offer the mayor some ideas on if I were mayor. If I were mayor, what would I do? Because I'm like 2 decades older than the mayor. I'm a big picture guy. I'm not a detail guy. It's funny, I almost lost a client because I just told him, I was like, I'm not a detail guy. These were detail people. And I'm like, I'm not a detail person. I said, I work for a company that has some tremendous detail-oriented people, but I'm not that guy. Not that guy. Couldn't begin to tell you. I know what an Excel sheet is, but that's about where it begins and ends. Excel. Oh man, I had to take introductory accounting twice. Not a detail guy. I can add 2 plus 2 up into the millions, but as far as detailing out a ledger sheet, yeah, not that guy. I want to start out by saying just a prayer for all those people who are homeless and whose lives have been interrupted. We were blessed to only lose 5 individuals due to the storm because someone in the mayor's office didn't sound the tornado alarm. A lot of people had no idea what was coming. And by the grace of God and the Holy Spirit, a lot of people saved a lot of other people by word of mouth and by deed. I know one family had a very young woman in their backyard, and when the tornado hit, there were also gardeners back there, so they didn't know it was coming. There was no alarm. That person should be fired immediately, not put on leave, not given a second chance. They had one job to do, turn on the tornado alarm, and they didn't do it. They need to be fired. They need to go find another job or another thing to do with their lives other than manage that one thing that could have saved lives. They need to be fired immediately, held accountable. So the next person that takes that job understands the one thing they have to do is sound the alarm when a tornado is here. Biggest storm in my lifetime, and they don't sound the alarms. Fire that person. It's a simple decision. You're the mayor. Fire them. First thing you got to do, Kara. This is a message to the mayor. Tragedies don't happen to communities. They don't. A community doesn't feel trauma. A community doesn't feel disaster. A community is a word, kind of like a corporation, right? We can feel collective grief, but the tragedy is to the individuals. the people that died. Oh, let me finish that story before I go too ADD on you. So, young woman in backyard, no alarm sound, tornado hits the house. The young woman is being lifted off the ground by the tornado. She doesn't weigh very much. And there's 2 or 3 other people that are in the backyard with her that jump on top of her and pin her to the ground so the tornado cannot take her away. That is a blessing beyond words, because she wouldn't be here today if they hadn't done that. And so God bless those people that pinned that young lady to the ground and kept her in this life so that she could bring blessings, and that they could bring blessings to more people. God bless you. All right. Great story. Wonderful humanitarian story. And I'm sure there were stories like that all over the city of St. Louis, where neighbor helped neighbor survive this storm. And it's still happening. It's still happening. St. Louis, not the loo, we're not a toilet. We're St. Louis City. So we are protected by the great St. Louis. I believe it was the 14th. I'm not 100% sure. I should really know which St. Louis that is, but I believe it's the 14th, King Louis. And if you ever read about this King Louis, he was a beautiful human being, a beautiful king of France. And the reason he became a saint was because he was such a graceful leader. So, Kara, this is your opportunity to call for the grace of God, to call for the grace of God, to call for the grace of St. Louis, to call for the grace to become and be a great leader in the moment. This is your moment, Kara, Mayor. This is your moment. So embrace it. Don't shy away from it. Don't be scared of it, but take charge of it. My guess is you don't have a ton of planning, a ton of background in disasters. It's just my guess. Find some people that do. We're in St. Louis City. It is June 3rd or 4th or 5th, and it's 75 degrees out. It's survivable outside right now. Survivable. But let me tell you one thing about St. Louis that is 100% predictable. I've lived here 60 plus years. What is 100% predictable about St. Louis weather is, in no time at all, within a month, we're going to see 100-degree weather with 95% humidity, and being outside is going to be unbearable. Being without power is going to be unbearable. And we're going to have thousands of people whose homes, and I'm specifically going to Northside because I want to share with everybody kind of my background of why I'm taking the show and dedicating it to this. For the past 10 years, and basically my whole life, I've lived in the city of St. Louis. So I have some background about what I'm about to suggest and recommend and offer as a vision for the future of our city, of our great city, St. Louis City. For the past 10 years, I have worked as what's called an adjuster, an insurance adjuster. So I drive around all St. Louis area, from West County, South County, South City, but I spend a fair amount of time in North City because there's a lot of fires in North City. And North City versus South City are two different cities. And you say, what are you talking about, Joe? Well, here's what I'm talking about. In North City, the property values, because the school, for whatever reason, but mostly the school system in North City is 100% broken. 100%. And nobody who can afford to stays in North City and chooses to send their children to public schools in North City. So nobody also moves into North City. Let's just say the schools were great in North City. There would still be a big problem in North City because of the violence. So what happens is the only people that are left in North City are people who don't have children, aka they don't have to worry about trying to educate their children, or B, they can't afford to move out. So a lot of people in North City don't have insurance. I know you think that's crazy, but from a public adjuster who goes around trying to help people that have insurance, I am telling you that there's a lot of people in North City, for market reasons and other reasons, that do not have insurance, did not have insurance, will not have insurance tomorrow, because it's not that they don't know they need insurance, because everybody knows they need insurance. When you live in North St. Louis, okay, and a third of the houses on your block are sitting there destroyed by fire, you understand that you need insurance, because you don't have to look around and go, well, that'll never happen to me, because you can look at a third of the structures on your block and see, well, it might happen to me because it happened to a third of the houses on my street, which means either their electricity was bad, somebody tried to heat something up on the kitchen. So it doesn't take a lot to figure out that you need insurance for your house in case of a fire, because a third of the houses on your block have burned down and have been there for 20 years. But here's the difference. Your house is worth $50,000. You know you can't rebuild your house for $50,000 if it has a fire, but you think, okay, well, if I get $100,000 of insurance on it, I may not be able to rebuild my house, but maybe I can go out and buy a different house. Okay, I've got $20,000 worth of stuff in my house. So I only need $100,000 for my house and $50,000 for my stuff. Okay, so now this is where it gets ugly, and I'm not calling racism. I'm not. These are market forces, because insurance companies just want to make money. They just don't want to lose money. The insurance company sees that a third of your block is burned down. They know that the chances of your house burning down are higher than in South City, because they can look at the stats on their computer and figure it out pretty quick. Your housing value is only $50,000, and you're asking for $100,000 of insurance on it. A third of the houses on your block have caught fire. Doesn't matter whether you're white or black. These are just facts. Your skin color that hasn't come into play at all. And the insurance company goes, well, this house in South City that's worth $500,000, there's no houses on the block that have caught fire. And yes, it's a $500,000 risk, but there's less chance of me losing that $500,000 because there aren't any other houses around there that really have caught fire. I mean, some have, but it happens. But that's why people buy insurance. It's not that it's going to happen. It's that it's probably not going to happen, and the insurance company's going to make money. So $500,000 of insurance in South City may cost you $1,500 a year. For $500,000, that's for the building, $200,000 in contents, maybe $1,500 a year. $1,500. So that's, what is that? $150 a month? Okay. So you're living in a $500,000 house. You're paying $150 a month to make sure your life doesn't get wrecked in a day. You can afford that. Makes sense. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. It's affordable. Let's go back down to the $50,000 house in North City. You're living in a $50,000 house. You just want enough money to be able to go out and buy another $50,000 house if your house gets destroyed. So $100,000 is not an unreasonable amount of insurance for you to have on that house. Not. $50,000 for your contents, not an unreasonable amount of insurance for you to have on your house. You can replace your beds, your refrigerator, some of your jewelry, the things that are important. You can build another life with $100,000 for your house and $50,000 for your contents. You can rebuild. If tragedy does happen to you, you can rebuild your life with that amount of money. Guess what? The $1,500 that cost the $500,000, the $750,000 worth of insurance for the house and the contents, $1,500 a year, right? So for you to get $150,000, $600,000 less of insurance, less risk dollar-wise to the insurance company for paying out is going to cost you $3,000. $3,000. You're living in a $50,000 house that your family paid for, and now the insurance company wants, for $150,000 total of insurance, they want $3,000 a year. We're rational people. We're rational. We understand that the insurance company is seeing the probability that they're going to lose $150,000 at your address is greater than the possibility that they're going to lose $750,000 at the other address. So they increase the premium to pay for their added risk. Not about skin color. It's about risk and reward. They want your money. The insurance company wants your money, but they also know, based on statistics and odds, that their chances of losing money, even at $3,000 premium, twice what the other house is paying, $600,000 less of policy limit risk, is still higher than insuring the other house. $3,000 to a family living in a $50,000 house is, what is that month-wise? $250, $270. So to a reasonable person, let's just say $300. $300 between taxes and insurance. It's $300 a month for you to continue insurance on your house. That doesn't seem unreasonable. It doesn't. I'm just telling you, it does not seem unreasonable for that person to pay $300 a month. The problem is they don't have $300 a month to pay for insurance. So even if their structure is insurable, meaning it's got a solid roof, they've upkept the house, they have car insurance, they're reasonable people that own it, so insurance is able to be placed on the property, the $300 a month is problematic because one or two income earners are feeding everybody that's in the house, and a lot of people that are staying there aren't helping participate in the payment of the insurance and the rent because they don't have a job, or they're not working, or they just don't have any money. They're paying their car insurance, they're working, but by the time they get done paying taxes and everything else, they don't have any money left over to chip in $50 or $100, and they look at that and they go, well, $300 a month buys us this, $300 a month buys us that, $300 a month pays our utility bill, $300 a month pays for cable. They make a decision. And it's not an unreasonable decision until tragedy happens, until they have a fire. And then it's the worst decision anyone could ever make. It's absolutely tragic. Because now it's instant poverty. Instant. Instant. They had a place to stay. They had a refrigerator full of food. They had a home. Now, don't have a home. Don't have a refrigerator full of food. They got no place to stay. And they still got no money. Right? So now that $300 a month seems like it would have made a lot of sense. But if you were to go back and ask them, if they had it all to do over again, would they have been able to find that $300 a month? I promise you, most of them will tell you that they didn't. They wouldn't have been able to live without that $300 a month. I don't have a solution for that, Mayor. I don't. But what I can tell you is that tragedy that happened to one family at a time has now happened to thousands. It's not a community tragedy. It's thousands of individual tragedies in North St. Louis. Thousands of them. Thousands of people that don't have a home. Thousands of people that don't have a refrigerator full of food. Thousands of people that have lost everything they have. So, here are my ideas. North St. Louis has been a tragedy in the works. And I don't want to blame Democrats. I don't want to blame the Democrat Party. Although they have been in power in the city of St. Louis for decades. It's not 100% just on the Democrat Party. They've run the schools. They've run the office of the mayor. They've run sheriff's department. They've run, Democrats have run North St. Louis for a long time, but there's never been a ton of resources or money to run North St. Louis. So part of the city is you've got to take care of the resources that are bringing money in, because you don't want to lose those, aka the other neighborhoods that are bringing wealthy people in, doing things that are putting money in the coffers of the city, keeping people employed. You don't want to lose those neighborhoods to focus on a neighborhood where there's a lot of people that aren't working and aren't bringing money and taxes into the city. It's kind of a self-interest circle that has led North St. Louis to the debacle, the tragedy that thousands of our fellow St. Louisans are in right now. So what are the solutions? Let's start with the immediate needs. So right now, just like every tragedy, when it happens, right now, everybody's on board. So there's a moment where you can ignite momentum. That moment is now, Carol. That moment is now. There's a moment where people understand that these thousands of people who no longer they've suffered tragedy, they need help. So the St. Louis community is a blessed, loving community of individuals that are willing to help. I'm willing to help. Other people are helping right now. Other people are helping every day. But just think about this when you see when there's a fire in your neighborhood. If you've ever been to a fire in your neighborhood, okay? When there's a fire in your neighborhood, the Red Cross comes by, all the neighbors come around. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. The church is there. A lot of people want to help right after a fire. But can I tell you who shows up at the house the day after the fire to help? Can I tell you who is there the next day when the fire trucks leave and the Red Cross leaves? Nobody. There's nobody there. Nope. Nobody. So this moment, Kara, that you have, this moment that you have to help these people that have suffered this tragedy, because everybody's got their own life, right? Everybody's got, I'm not blaming people, I'm not angry at people, I'm just saying everybody's got their own life to live. They got to go to work, they got to pay their bills, they got their own things they have to do. And this individual that suffered the tragedy has got to figure it out, and that's why you have insurance. But we just already went over the insurance program. So, and why that's an issue for people that aren't making a lot of money, that don't have a lot of money. Why that's an issue, the cost, the ability. We won't rehash it, although I just did. But there's a moment, and that moment when there's thousands of people that suffer gets elongated. We're still in that moment, Kara, Mayor. We're still in that moment. So there's still an opportunity for you. There's still an opportunity for the collective, for us. I know you probably like that word, collective. For us to get together and come up with a plan. I don't have a master plan. What I try to do with this show is in real time, think about what we could do for a plan. And so that's what we're going to do. I can give you the general ideas of a big plan. The general ideas of a big plan are, number one, the biggest problems are crime. So let's make sure the crime problem, the violence problem, that we hammer that. You've got the greatest police force in the country, in the St. Louis LPD, the St. Louis PD. You've got the greatest police force. It's the most dedicated, beautiful people working in our St. Louis Police Department. Do not let violence, and I don't care whether it's mental illness, I don't care whether it's family fights, violent people have to be extricated from the situation as quickly as possible and kept away from the situation for as long as possible, as long as legally possible. You cannot have violence, the fear of violence, in any way, shape, or form affect the people that are coming to help. If you don't protect the people coming to help, if you don't protect the people that are there that are homeless, then what you'll find is the community of helpers, out of fear, out of anger at your ineptitude, are going to stop helping, because they're going to be angry, that lose faith in the leadership. So the number one thing, Kara, that you've got to do is you've got to make everybody feel safe. You've got to make them feel safe coming to help. You've got to make the people that are there feel safe. So you've got to extricate every time there's an outbreak of violence. You've got to extricate the violent people from the situation. And that means moving them to prisons. That means moving them to Texas. I don't care what it means. But you've got to employ the St. Louis Police Department, National Guard, whatever has to happen. You cannot let violence rue the day for St. Louis City, number one. Number two is, and I hate master plans, like the Soviet Union would come up with master plans, 5-year master plans. I don't want a 5-year plan. But there can be an immediate plan of what was wrong before the tornadoes hit, right? That exasperated what was wrong. A third of the houses, some blocks, I'm being kind, with a third of the houses being uninhabitable. I'm being kind, because on some blocks there would be one house that was habitable, and the other 15 on the block would have been destructive, abandoned, unlivable properties. You're going to have construction equipment coming into the area, coming into North City, that is capable of, and somewhere I read where you're going to demolish 200 homes. Like 200, that's a drop in the bucket for what needs to happen in North St. Louis. 200, that's like four square blocks in some neighborhoods. I mean, and that was before the tornado, Kara, and we both know it. That was before the tornado. 200 blocks. That was in one neighborhood in North City. 200 structures. You need to take this moment and say, listen, we have all this equipment. We have all these people helping us. We're not just gonna tear down the 200 structures that are now uninhabitable due to the tornado. We're going to tear down every uninhabitable structure and make a decree. If a structure is uninhabitable, tear it down. If it cannot be fixed and no one wants it, and you've got the time, the effort, the love of people helping you, tear it down now. None of these structures, when they have a fire in South City, are left standing for 3 decades. They tear it down and plant grass. Okay, so I could see where maybe we don't have the funds in the city of St. Louis to rebuild every single structure that's being torn down. Okay, plant grass. Open up, plant a bush, plant a tree, plant grass. Open up, make the lots bigger. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the end answer is. We might get to that at the end of the day. We might get to that before the show's over. I don't know how much time I have. We're halfway through the show already. But tear them down. If it's an uninhabitable structure, it destroys the property value and the neighborhood, and it stops people from wanting to invest and build and be a part of that community. And it's unsafe. It's unsafe for the children that walk to school or wait at the bus stop. It's unsafe for the summertime when the kids are out playing. It's unsafe from a structural falling down standpoint. People walking by and bricks fall on their head. The whole structure collapses. That happens all the time in North St. Louis. A structure will just collapse because it's been burnt down and uninhabitable for 20 years, and the city of St. Louis has done nothing about it. Whose fault is that? It's not your fault, Kara. It's not your fault. But certainly the Democratic Party that has run the city of St. Louis for decades, it's somebody's fault, right? Because those buildings don't exist in South St. Louis. So somewhere, somehow, there are the resources available to tear down uninhabitable structures in South St. Louis, but not in North St. Louis. That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. So now is the point in time where you can appeal. You use momentum. Use this moment to build momentum, not just for a Band-Aid, not just to get 200 people back in their homes. There are thousands of people that are out of their homes. And I'm not saying that that there shouldn't be focus where their tornado hit. Absolutely focused where the tornado hit, kind of like what we're doing with illegal aliens. Focus first on the criminals. Focus first on the ones that have broken, not only broken the law of coming into the country, but then have gone on to rape and murder somebody. Absolutely focus on the neighborhoods gathered by the storm. But you're going to have all these resources available to go much deeper into the pot of taking down uninhabitable structures in North St. Louis. The benefits of that will be surreal. The property values of the houses next to the dilapidated structures that you've now torn down will go up. Their value will go up because there's a home here. It's got grass all around it. Very nice people living there. The violence is down, and I could see raising a family here. At some point, we'll address the schools. That can be part of the master. That can be part of the bigger vision, part of the momentum that can carry through. But first, you've got to tear down not just the 200 structures that are destroyed by the tornado. We have to tear down as many uninhabitable structures in North St. Louis as we possibly can. We can sell the bricks. I think there's a lot of bricks in St. Louis. There's a lot of communities that need bricks. There's a lot of people that bricks are, I think they're not free. People want bricks. Let's come up with that can defer. It won't cover the cost of tearing down the properties, right? It won't cover the property, but it can defer the cost by selling the bricks. Come up with a program. People want bricks. Here's where you come get them. Pay us, make a donation, and here's a load of bricks. Make a donation. Here's a load of bricks. Come up with a program for people to get bricks. Come up with a program for people to gather bricks. Come up with a program to people to move bricks. So the same time you're demolishing, have a program of value that's collecting the bricks. There is some, I shouldn't say some, there is a lot of toxic materials that were used to build homes in St. Louis decades and decades and decades ago. The fire department can come into play here. The fire department can come into play because the fire department's got the resources to water down properties as you destroy them. So have a unit of the fire department that is, with every demolition, is spraying down the property so that the any toxic materials don't get airborne. They do this all the time. They do it all the time. Make it part of the program. Yes, we have toxic materials, but we're not going to let them go airborne. We're going to minimize their airborne thing as we're tearing down all these properties. We're going to deploy the St. Louis Fire Department. Temporarily hire a lot of people for the St. Louis Fire Department. And all they got to do is manage a hose. Manage a hose. So bring in a bunch of people temporarily for the St. Louis Fire Department. They'll love that. They'll teach them how to use the hose. They'll teach them how to drive the truck. They'll get training. There's some of these thousands of people that don't have a job, that don't have a place to stay, that would love to have a job, would love to have training. Bring them in and make them part of the crew for demolition. Either they can run the hose, they can help with moving the bricks. A lot of people need jobs. Are you with me? So this is you take the moment and you build momentum. But you have to do it. This is your moment. You have to make this happen. You have to lead the charge. So that's the first vision. I don't want to get into schools right now. Second vision. Mailman just came. The second vision is, so you've got this going on with tearing down structures that are uninhabitable, right? You've got people helping you. You've got people taking out bricks. You've got people tearing buildings down. You've got people running water so the toxic materials don't go out. And this is happening not to 200 structures, but it's going to happen to thousands of structures. Thousands of structures. You can, next thing say, on the rebuild side, we're going to be, after we plant this grass, We're going to be having a moment where people can claim this lot. People that have lived in the city of St. Louis can claim this lot to rebuild their homes or XYZ. So the rebuild can happen, but you've got to have people that want to come into the city, that want to rebuild, that have the investment, right? Because somebody's going to have to invest money to rebuild. But they're not going to do it when you've got 2,000 structures, 5,000 structures in the city of St. Louis that are uninhabitable and the violence level's up. So you've got to address those so that they see where the value of their investment is going to go up. They want to make money. That's why people invest, because they want to make money, Kara. So show them that the city of St. Louis, using momentum, is going to make their property values better because you're going to take the uninhabitable properties out of play. These structures didn't have the money for upkeep. It's not just the structures that were destroyed by the tornado. If they're uninhabitable properties, they need to be taken down. And even if something else isn't built there, plant some grass. Grass is beautiful. Grass is green. It looks good. Golf courses make a ton of money with green grass. Make a lot of money because it's green and beautiful and it's got stuff. So let's go to, so that's one side. Next side. And this is a more spiritual side, because this is the spiritual side that you're going to be dealing with here. As we've already talked about, St. Louis is predictable. We will be hitting 90-degree weather with 80% humidity, unsurvivable outside in weeks. Don't have a lot of time. These people that are out of their houses are not going to be back in their houses, are not going to have a place to stay in weeks. Not going to happen. Thousands and thousands of our neighbors are not going to have a place to stay in 90-degree weather. They're going to be outside. They're going to be dying. They're going to be dying. And at some point in time, the violence, even with our great St. Louis Police Department, people don't die quietly. They don't starve quietly. They don't die quietly. They don't. There's going to be violence. It's going to happen. So the way to avoid that is keep the violence out now while you've got momentum, and have a solution to all these people that are about to be suffering 90-degree heat and 80, 85, 90-degree humidity in weeks. Number one, first place I'd go, because what's going to happen, what has to happen is there has to be housing. And you understand that. They can't live on the streets without housing. And some of them will be able to stay with family. Some of the people that have lost everything will have family they can go to. Some will. So we're probably talking, 1,000, 2,000 people that don't have family, don't have a place to go, that are going to be on the streets. Go to the churches. Go to the Catholic Church. Go to the Northside churches. Don't go to... Urban League's a great organization. It is a great organization. And I'm not saying to exclude the Urban League. And maybe the Urban League can actually be the ringleader, the church leader that brings all these other leaders together. So maybe go in unison with the Urban League to find the church leaders. I would go to the churches, to the pastors, to the priests that are invested in these communities, that know these people, that love these people. I would go to them and I would make them the hub of housing. Like, they're going to, number one, they're going to find out who needs what. Have each church, each church that's still standing, and the churches that aren't standing, their pastors can go to a church that is standing, right? So they'll absolutely let a pastor that's running one church in North St. Louis will absolutely allow another pastor whose church has been destroyed to have a meeting or be a part of the planning process of finding out and letting people go there. So like right now you've got people going to get food at different places. Have the churches come out and start finding out who needs help. Get names, get a contact way. Give them a contact way because a lot of people aren't going to have cell phones and power. So make sure in the outreach that the people that need help know which church they go to in order to get a place to stay. And let the pastors resource the pastors to do this. Resource their church to do this. Don't resource socialist organizations to go out and promote socialism in the middle of a tragedy. Do not try to empower socialist bullshit organizations going into the community right now and promoting the socialist agenda to try to help people. That's bullshit. Use the churches in the city of North City, the pastors and the reverends, to go out and find out who needs help. Then, as you're tearing down properties, these pastors can be the conduit, the center way through the pastors that are feeding people right now, right? That have been feeding people for 15 years. Let them be the conduit, the hub. Have a circle of pastors and priests in North St. Louis that organize who needs help and where they need help, where they want to go, how many people they need to feed, how many people they need housing for. Let them be the organizational body. And if you've got resources at the city hall, which you should have, that can help them do that, then deploy those resources to help the pastors. But make this a God-centered reaction. And then what you can do is you can reach out to the other Christian and Jewish communities, and you can have them direct their resources to other churches that are helping people. So you have momentum going for rebuilding, for making the city more livable and safe. And you've got resources now that are directed, and you've got people helping you that are based in God, based in love, that are helping you find places and figuring out how many places you need for people to stay. The last solution is not so simple. And this is the one that the reason why it's the last part of the show is because it's probably the most difficult. Where are these people going to find shelter? And that is a much more difficult question. The city of St. Louis has lost hundreds of thousands of people due to mismanagement, violence, poor, inadequate housing structure, terrible schools over the past 30, 40 years. I've watched it. I've watched it. The worst decision that was ever made that was the federal judge that declared busing the law, and it was a terrible law. What an arrogant jerk that guy was when he mandatorily bused people in the city of St. Louis. What an outrage! What a disaster that has been for our city. I think his name was Huntington or Hunt. Just just a terrible, terrible decision. Most of you don't have any idea. Most of you don't have any idea of what that was, but because you're too young. But a federal judge decreed that made godlike that the city of St. Louis had for integration purposes, for racist purposes, had to bus people away from their community schools, and it destroyed public schools in the city of St. Louis, destroyed them, and how subsequently destroyed the city of St. Louis, and that's why you see hundreds of thousands of people moving out with their kids over the last few decades. I don't have an answer for that for the housing. I don't. I don't know whether that means you're going to have to build temporary housing. When I say temporary, it can't be too temporary. Let me go back. So 100,000 people left the city. So hundreds of thousands of people have left the city. There's got to be places where people used to live that they don't live anymore, right? I mean, there's got to be housing throughout the city of St. Louis, North City, South City. There has to be a lot of vacant, livable properties where nobody's at because they're gone. The people are gone. Hundreds of thousands of people are gone. So I would think for the right price, right? For the right price, that all of these properties could be habitated with a central structure of payment, because the people that don't have a house anymore, don't have any resources, are probably not going to be able to pay a deposit on a rental house, on a rental apartment. They're probably not going to be able to pay anything. They're probably not going to have any income. But there should be plenty of housing available. I know this doesn't answer all the problems because they're still not going to have income, right? And if you don't have income, how do you pay for your groceries? How do you pay for all those things that you're going to need? It's not an easy solution. Granted, it's not. But I pray that you go through the churches. I pray that you absolutely make them the center hub for relocation for people. If you're going to build temporary housing, you better get started. And it better, to me, temporary housing is until you find places through the churches for all these people to relocate to existing housing structures in the city of St. Louis. Because they've got to be here. They've got to be there. My guess is the city of St. Louis owns some of them that these people could live at. Maybe old nursing homes. Maybe you could consolidate. Maybe if you've got nursing homes that aren't filled, you could consolidate nursing homes in the city and bring people in there. Maybe there's some nursing homes that have really low vacancy rates, that have really low attendance. Maybe the city could buy some of those nursing homes because those are set up with central kitchens. Those are set up with central places to house people. Maybe the city of St. Louis could go out and buy some extended stay hotels for a period of time. Maybe there's got to be a plan in place to house thousands of people that are about to be outside. From a temporary standpoint, from an absolute temporary standpoint, there's got to be cooling stations. There's got to be some idea for cooling stations in these neighborhoods, whether they're tents with water sprays, with fans. There's got to be an immediate plan to put up cooling stations in these neighborhoods so that people don't melt. But that's just temporary. You can't make that. You can't just hope all these people find their way, because they're not. There's going to be thousands of people that are lost and have no way to find their way. But if you do the demolition of the uninhabitable structures, maybe they can get jobs. If you sell the bricks, maybe they can get jobs. There are ways to combine the moment into momentum to make it better. To make it better. And that should be the goal. The goal shouldn't just be to fix, to rebuild a couple homes in North St. Louis that were insurable, that people had insurance on. The goal should be to make our entire community better by involving and engaging the people that have lost so much, and engaging the community to find a pathway to make that happen. The schools are, I don't even want to get into the schools because that's a whole nother animal, and those are prayers. Maybe the church leaders, when they get in and they help people with housing, maybe the church leaders can figure out a way to help our schools, because our schools have been lost for so long. But one of my clients did have a poignant point. It's like for the city long term to heal and get better and really be the great city that we are, the schools have got to be improved. They've got to be improved. But that's can happen in the momentum plan. That can happen at the end of the momentum plan. Right now, let's just help our fellow citizens, our neighbors, the people that we care about. Let's help them find a place to stay. Let's help them not get melted into pure human skin on the streets of Del Mar. Let's just help them the best we can. And Kara, this is your moment. Use it to build momentum so that you can be one of the greatest mayors that St. Louis has ever had. I am praying for you. There are so many people in the city of St. Louis that are praying for you right now, Kara. We hope and pray. I don't care that you have a D by your name. We hope and pray that you invoke the name of Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost to empower you, to give you vision, to give you sight. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. We're praying for you, Kara. Momentum. Once you have it, use it.